I'm sure we can all understand how the Denver Nuggets became the 2023 NBA champions after beating the Miami Heat in 5 games. But something was happening on the court that simply did not make sense. Of course, we saw how there was no answer for Nikola Jokic and that the Heat were short, both handed and in stature. But something about these box score numbers didn't add up. If we look at the past 5 playoff seasons, you'll see that teams that score 4 or more three-pointers in their opponent won those games a staggering 74% of the time. In fact, when the Heat did this during the first 3 rounds, they went 6-1. And yet in the finals, they averaged 3 more makes than the Nuggets, and in the 4 games they made more, it was by at least 4 makes. This whole Miami team didn't make a lot of sense on paper. They came into the season as the reigning #1 seed in the East and the best three-point shooting team in the league. And with basically the same roster except PJ Tucker, they struggled from behind the arc all season long, finishing a disgusting 27th in three-point percentage, leading to an underperforming 8th seed. And despite playing teams with relatively good three-point defense, they suddenly came alive and started nailing shots from all over the place. The problem was, in only 1 round did they exceed their normal regular season three-point frequency. Interestingly, in the one series they shot a lot more of these in terms of frequency, they shot very poorly against the Knicks and still beat them somewhat handily. But there was no question, if they had any hope of competing with the mighty Nuggets, they'd need to let them fly. Instead, their frequency dropped over 2 points below the regular season number. We all know how the three-point shot could be the equalizer for undermanned teams who have a talent deficit. Yet, the Heat's game plan was to take less of them, and this was a problem. I went through their possessions in games 4 and 5 to see what was going on, and I noticed a lot of times where they could have easily generated good looks from behind the arc had their mindset been different. Had the Heat been hunting threes, I believe Vincent would have identified Porter Jr. guarding Strus on the weak side, seen him fall asleep, and made this pass for a corner 3. Watch Jimmy get aggressive into the middle of the floor. He can easily see Murray digging down into the block with Kevin Love wide open in the corner, just waiting for the pass. I love this action in the Heat run, where Duncan Robinson sets a back screen first, then comes off the pin down by Bam. While he wasn't open for the catch and shoot 3, had he been truly hunting, he could have pulled coming around the ball screen. There might have been a kick out to the corner or the wing, but instead he fires a runner off the backboard. It was weird to see Butler so unaggressive for long stretches, leading me to believe that maybe he was hurt. But on this post-up, he lures Brown 1 pass away. It would have been an easy kick to Strus at the three-point line, but instead it's a contested miss from 8 feet. When you're hunting for threes, you want to lure help from 1 pass away for easy kickouts. Yet, Butler sees Brown reaching in, knows his man is wide open at the wing, but tries for a contested floater from 12 feet out. Another way to generate good looks is to get into the paint and then lift up in the air as if you're about to shoot, then kick it out quickly for an open shooter. Vincent easily could have done something like this as Strus started lifting out of the corner with Murray staring at the ball. Instead, it's a one-footed floater over a much bigger defender. The pocket pass was so great for the Heat's offense all series long. Instead of Bam trying to split 2 defenders, he should have recognized they already got what they wanted, help from 1 pass away off the corner with Vincent all by himself ready for the shot. Another pocket pass compresses the defense, leaving Caleb Martin all by himself in the right corner had Bam been focused on it. Instead, it's a terrible miss. It's hard to fault a shot within 5 feet of the basket, but Bam has to know he's been struggling to finish, especially with Jokic right in front of him to contest. Just make the pass to Caleb Martin, who was struggling in the finals, but was scorching for the whole playoffs. And look at his reaction to this terrible miss. I think the biggest issue with Martin's shooting struggles was his confidence, which to me is another word for rhythm. And the best way to find that rhythm with your jump shot is to use your favorite songs while training. And that's where Raycon's everyday earbuds come in. With optimized gel tips, it gives you the perfect in-ear fit so you can perform all manner of basketball moves and they will not budge. Trust me. They offer 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, all for half the price of other premium audio brands. I've been working out with a lot more energy because these Raycons give me 3 customizable sound profiles to ensure incredible audio quality. These earbuds block out background noise so well you can just focus on improving your skills, and let's face it, I need a lot more Raycon training time. Use my special link to get an even better deal. Head over to buyraycon.com/bball to get 15% off your purchase. I started to feel a little bad for Martin considering how often he was open in this game, as Strus drives, gets Brown reaching in on the dribble, but opts for the off-foot bank shot instead of an open corner three. In Game 4, watch the tunnel vision from Gabe Vincent. He's not looking at anything but a mid-range shot for himself or the pocket pass to Bam, ignoring the wide-open Kevin Love out top, and they come up empty. This was a double whammy, as Butler collapses the defense nicely in the pick and roll, but forces it to Bam instead of the wide-open Kevin Love coming around. After traveling in the paint and not getting called for it, the Heat offense resets back out top. They get a corner lift to Vincent. He might have had a potential three here, but then Bam gets right into the middle again. Every defender is looking in that direction, and he misses two wide-open shooters before bricking the 12-footer. Another back screen and a handoff for Strus gets them in good position to attack. Look how easy it would have been to kick it out to Love in the left corner for a wide-open three. Instead, he's stripped and they have to start all over. Right as Jimmy begins his spin move, Brown starts to double from one pass away. I suppose Jimmy couldn't see it, but Lowry has to let him know as he misses the contested turnaround bank shot from 6 feet. Yet another middle drive where the ball handler should be thinking three. Gordon digs down, Vincent is wide open. This is a good find by Strus, but Bam gets stripped right away. And in the fourth of a somewhat tight game, Bam can't take advantage of his size mismatch, trying a contested 9-footer instead of elevating and kicking to a wide-open Lowry from behind the arc. The Heat left tons of these types of possessions on the floor, and while the scores of 3 of the games were decided by double digits, don't you think the Heat could have used a few more of those threes? Especially while Denver was going through their own severe slump from behind the arc. One way the Nuggets were able to mitigate the three-point discrepancy was by shooting an average of over 7 more free throw attempts per game. I broke out the shooting fouls by which player fouled the most, and Bam led the team. It shouldn't be surprising since he had his hands completely full with Jokic down low. However, the Heat could never solve the pick and roll issue. Although this open pick and pop should not have been called, it did give the Nuggets crucial free throws that kept them close. And when Jokic gets aggressive to the hoop after the pop here, Bam can't do much with an opponent so much bigger than him. And as he tried his best to help contain Murray coming around, it left him vulnerable to recovering back to Jokic, and he subtly jump stops and waits for Bam to get up in the air before drawing the foul. Kyle Lowry has always been an irritant and willing to mix it up to gain any sort of advantage possible, which can lead to an occasional foul. But when playing the forward out of their zone, it left him woefully short in the rebounding department, and in an effort to prevent easy putbacks, he was almost forced to take the foul. I mean, there is no way he's winning the battle down low against Jokic, so he tried the old vet trick with the elbow shove, but the ref was onto him. And instead of just going for the ball, he turns his back to the basket to box out, and it leads to another take foul to prevent the putback. And because he was so small, the Nuggets tried a little bit to target him with switches into mismatches, where he tries everything in the book to stop Jokic, but there's just no way to do this. And on this possession, he was intentionally guarding the much taller Jeff Green, who came off the pin away into an immediate attack into the low post. Lowry is doing his best, but it still leads to more free throws. Strus was next in line, and there was a little bit of a pattern of him having to rotate in support of a teammate who got beat or penetration that required rotations, where he was left trying to make a play on a man who he wasn't initially guarding. Here, he takes a silly reach-in foul as Murray was already going up against 2 defenders, and this time he's better at showing his hands but not causing illegal contact, but then he has to sink to cover for the Love rotation, fouling Gordon on his way up. Speaking of which, if the Heat were going to get stuck committing so many shooting fouls, why weren't they taking more fouls on Aaron Gordon? The guy shot a terrible 46.7% from the line, but only averaged 3 attempts per game. Absolutely, the Heat should have been taking way more fouls on him and forced him to brick more penalty shots. There wasn't a whole lot of clutch time in the series, but with the Nuggets' offensive rating being so high in these situations, it's a little mind-boggling that Eric Spoelstra wouldn't have played around more with taking the foul on Gordon at various times to slow Denver's attack down. In the end, this Nuggets team proved themselves to be great, and I believe we'll look back at this team as one of the all-timers. So I really don't know if the Heat had any hope of winning this. However, you'd like to think they did everything they could, but the lack of three-point shooting and not putting Aaron Gordon on the line more were two areas that would have undoubtedly helped. And it just goes to show you that some good old-fashioned points in the paint, when scored in big enough bunches, can still overcome all that modern distance shooting stuff, hopefully laying out a blueprint for future NBA title teams to mimic a style of play dedicated to ball movement and teamwork, which both of these teams demonstrated beautifully.